Redditors who do not have a romantic how we first met story with your significant other. How did you meet? Working at a residential treatment center for emotionally disturbed adolescents. There was a riot on campus. It took 2 shifts of staff to get the kids quieted down and back in bed. We were supposed to get off work at 11 PM, but were there until 1 AM. Guy I was working with was friends with my roommate. So after we got off, I said I'm going home to get drunk. Want to come? That was 42 years ago. We've been married for 37 years and have 2 adult children. My folks met when they ran for cover in the same spot during a drive-by shooting. He was drunk. An acquaintance and I went to pick him and another friend up to go out to a club. We've been together almost 15 and 1/2 years, married 13. Even his proposal was not very romantic. We were in our backyard getting ready to barbecue and he asked me if I would marry him. First thing out of my mouth was, "Are you sure?" It totally works for us though. Not me but an old friend. Back in the 70s, my friend Shirley was at a bar late one night making a phone call in the back room on a payphone and some drunk asshole came stumbling in and took the phone from her, hung it up, then proceeded to make a call to someone else. She stood back and smacked him in the face. He fell flat on the floor and busted out laughing. That's how they met. A short bar fight I suppose, lol. I always loved hearing that story when I drank with them. She passed away a few years back and was a very sweet woman. I met my wife in 1989 in psychiatric hospital. Married for 29 years now. Edit. Spelling. Now we need to know, why were you guys in a psychiatric hospital? They were crazy for each other. Have same first name and last names, 1 letter off. Keep getting each other's mail. Craigslist. I was new in town, didn't know many people. I put an ad up looking for someone to go explore and do weird shit, like put googly eyes on things. She answered. We emailed back and forth a few times. Met. Hung out. It was really relaxed. Then about 3 weeks later we realized it was more than that. Damn, you found a lover on Craigslist, meanwhile I can't even find a good quality sale. Met at a homeless shelter. We hit it off, got back on our feet, got a place together, getting married. Edit. It never seemed a romantic situation to me. We met in a homeless shelter isn't exactly something we tell people openly. My late wife and I met in a psych hospital, so same general situation. She and I were the big crazy in the non-violent population, so we got to talking and she gave me her phone number to hit her up if I wanted to talk or get pizza. I thought she was really cool, so I was definitely down. Turns out she had a huge crush on me since our first conversation, but I'm stupid and had no clue. I thought she just wanted to be friends. I ended up inviting her over to stay with me because of her living situation at that moment, and I figured it would be cool to hang out with her. Of course, being that I had been unknowingly teasing her about sex, again, I seriously had no idea. For the last 2 weeks, she wanted dick, and she wanted it bad. Bad ED titties can be quite persuasive, so we ended up doing the do and both being rather surprised at how natural everything felt with us being intimate. So yeah, we eventually ended up getting married. But the best part about this story, that saps all romances, that she had a borderline stalkerish obsession with me. She wrote erotica about me in the psych ward, like fanfic, but a step up, and after we got engaged, told me it was the first time we had sex. 2 weeks after we met, that sealed the deal for her on wanting to spend the rest of her life with me. I wasn't exactly surprised. After all, we did meet in a psych ward. Added my wife on Facebook 11 years ago because I thought she was hot. She popped up in a friend's pictures and I was like, damn, nice, and now I wake up in the same bed as her and I say damn, nice every single day. Damn, nice. Online gaming. I lashed out publicly because I was emotional and they sent a message apologizing. Because they genuinely thought it was their fault I was angry. I cried, we talked, and we started talking, because guildies were supposed to get along. I was the DD for the night at the local club. It was getting late and everyone wanted to party more. I was getting hungry. Outside the club this guy always had his hot dog cart. set up, so I went outside to get a couple. The club didn't allow outside food or drink, so I just sat on the curb. She came out drunk as a skunk with her friends, took a few steps, then puked on me. My hot dogs got ruined too. Her friends really weren't in any condition to drive either, so I called an Uber and asked him to let me know they got home safe. She called the next day incredibly apologetic and asked to make it up to me. She showed up to the restaurant with a new shirt and a pack of francs, laughed hysterically, got talking, and here we are. I always say she had a very unique method of picking me. Edit one, since so many asked, I gave the Uber my number asking for verification that they got home fine. He just told them to call me and gave them my number, so she had it. Edit 2 francs are hot dogs. She brought replacement hot dogs for the ones she defiled. My now wife got shit-faced at New Year's Day party and confessed her crush on me. She then persistently tried to coerce a very sober and uncomfortable me to sleep with her, which I declined. Called her the next day and asked her on a proper date. That was almost 7 years ago, and we've been happily married 3 years. Met my GF at a New Year's Eve party. We were both super drunk. I may have blurted out my life story too. I came back with her to her apartment. After sobering up, I decided to get naked and crawl into her bathtub. I passed out, but woke up with a blanket on me and a pillow under my head. She sent me a message asking if I was okay. I asked her out for coffee. The rest is history, I guess. At work, she was really shy, and I thought she wanted to murder me. I still think that, but at least now she has my life insurance. I was donating blood, and I hit it off with the lady next to me. She seemed to like my weird sense of humor, and I think our blood bags touched. She tripped on the gutter. While everyone around her helped her, I just stood there trying to contain my laugh. She still tells this story to other people up to this day. She tripped and you fell. That's romantic. My wife and I met on a Cupid. I used to feel kind of embarrassed about this until I realized that now there are married couples out there who met on Tinder. Who knows, in a few more years Tinder will probably seem old fashioned and all the young people will be meeting up on findasetofgenitals.com. I met my wife on Craigslist. I'm not embarrassed by finding love to line, but I'm still embarrassed that it was Craigslist. My parents have a pretty great one. My mom was a 19-year-old intern at this big company. She was tasked with inventorying a warehouse. She found a box of screws with no part number. She asked around 4 days. Nobody knew anything about these screws. She was getting frustrated. Finally, somebody directed her to go see this particular guy who was kind of famous for being a reclusive, if brilliant dickhead. She walks into his office, holds up a screw, and asks him, "I've asked everybody. No one knows. What is this?" My dad looks at her and says, absolutely deadpan, "It's a screw." She called him an asshole and stormed out. They were married 5 years later. Their 40th wedding anniversary is next August. They also got engaged in a Taco Bell. My parents are great at not romantic stuff. I don't remember meeting my husband. I was a freshman in high school, and it was during band camp. I got a text from him one night and pretended to know who he was because I was too embarrassed that I didn't know everyone's names yet. Have you figured out his name yet? If not, take him to Starbucks. Also, if you're about to marry him, pay attention to the priest. Usually they call them out by their name when asking for the vows. I was eating tacos in a mall food court. He walked by me and I thought he was cute, but then I started choking on my taco and he looked at me weird and walked away. My friend with me went and got his number for me 7 years ago. He told me he thought I was laughing at him. Thanks Taco Bell. Tinder. Maybe one day I'll tell my parents, but the friend of a friend story has worked well enough so far. That's exactly what I've told my mom. She first met me while dating my best friend, and I was with another girl at the time. Years later, my best friend convinced me to hang out with her, called her up, and invited her to Buffalo Wild Wings where he and I were hanging out. Since we had both already eaten, we walked across the parking lot to a bar. I played darts with friends while drinking and talking to her a bit. Then after the bar closed, we went back to our cars, started making out, decided there wasn't enough room inside, and fucked with her bent over the hood of my car in Buffalo Wild Wings parking lot at 4 AM. It was a magical night we'll tell our grandchildren about one day. I assume this is a tourism ad for New Jersey. I was walking through a crowded beer garden to meet my longtime female friend who already had a table saved and insisted I had to meet her friend. I spotted her friend immediately and she spotted me, even though we'd never met. I proceeded to sit down and make small talk, but I was enamored. I instigated everything, which I had never done before in my life. I was completely taken by her. Yada yada yada, we made out and spent the next week together, avoiding all outside responsibilities and careers. 3 years and thousands of dollars in legal fees later, and I just narrowly avoided jail time because of her lies. She is the meanest person I've ever met. Hitler and Stalin had more gumption than her. A true sociopath.